Welcome seekers to high magic practices. Tonight we're wading into one of the most contested debates in modern ceremonial magic, the Grimoire purist movement versus the Golden Dawn synthesis. If you've been working with Goetic spirits using the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, Kabbalistic correspondences, and elaborate temple setups, you're practicing a system that would be almost unrecognizable to the scribes who compiled the Le Megaton. And if you've been following Grimoire purists like Jake Stratton-Kent or Joseph Peterson's translations, you're working within a completely different framework that treats those Golden Dawn editions as, at best, unnecessary overlay, and at worst, active corruption of functional magical technology. This isn't about declaring one approach correct and the other invalid. Both produce practitioners who report working relationships with spirits. Both have sophisticated theoretical frameworks, but they're fundamentally different systems making different assumptions about what spirits are, how authority works, and what the practitioner is actually doing when they open that circle. We're going to examine what the original Le Megaton actually prescribes, what the Golden Dawn systematically changed, and what's genuinely at stake in choosing one approach over the other. This is technical troubleshooting for practitioners who've already learned the basics elsewhere and need to understand why their results might not match their expectations. Let's start with what Grimoire purists actually mean when they talk about traditional practice. Jake Stratton-Kent, who practiced Goetic magic continuously for over 40 years until his death in 2023, argued that the spirits of grimoires fall into three categories: elementals, spirits of the dead, particularly past heroes, and pagan gods and goddesses. This directly contradicts both the Golden Dawn's psychological reduction of demons to portions of the brain and the Christian theological framework that classified all non-Christian spirits as fallen angels. If spirits are independent entities with their own histories and motivations, that fundamentally changes how you approach the work. You're not integrating aspects of your unconscious. You're not commanding rebel angels through divine authority alone. You're negotiating with beings who have their own agendas, their own preferences, and their own standards for what constitutes respectful engagement. Stratton-Kent's 5-volume Encyclopaedia Goetica traces this technology back through the Greek magical papyri to pre-classical Mediterranean shamanism. Whether or not you accept that lineage, his central point stands. Medieval grimoire authors developed complete, functional systems. When the Golden Dawn layered Kabbalistic correspondences and psychological frameworks onto Goetic practice, they weren't just adding helpful context, they were replacing a coherent worldview with a different one. The question isn't which worldview is true in some absolute sense. The question is whether mixing them dilutes the spiritual technology each system encodes. Joseph Peterson's scholarly translations, particularly his definitive 2001 edition of the Lesser Key of Solomon, reveal exactly how much the texts changed over time. The Goetia spirit list derives from Johann Wehr's Pseudemonarchia Daemonum from 1577, with 4 spirits added and 1 omitted. The famous brass vessel is likely a mistranslation of Wehr's Latin vase vitreo, which means glass vessel. The Hebrew names around the magic circle come from Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy from 1531, meaning the Le Megaton cannot predate that work. These aren't trivial details. They show us what scribes added, what they miscopied, and what the original practitioners actually did before centuries of transmission smoothed over the breaks. Stephen Skinner and David Rankin's research on Harley manuscript 6483, Dr. Thomas Rudd's early 17th century manuscript, uncovered one of the most important lost elements. The 72 angels of the Shem HaMaphohash were originally used to bind and control the 72 Goetic demons. This technique appears in later editions as merely the single word Shem HaMaphohash with no explanation of its use. That's the kind of loss grimoire purists point to when they argue that important magical technology disappeared during transmission. So what does traditional grimoire practice actually entail? The Lemegeton specifies an elaborate toolkit. A 9-foot magic circle inscribed with divine names from Agrippa's scale of 10. A triangle of art placed 2 feet from the circle containing the names Anaphaxeton, Tetragrammaton, Premiumaton. The hexagram of Solomon on virgin parchment worn at the skirt of white vestments. The pentagram of Solomon in gold or silver worn on the breast. A silver ring of Solomon inscribed with the name Anaphaxeton and the archangel Michael, held before the face against the stinking fumes of spirits. And the secret seal of Solomon, made on virgin parchment with blood of a black cock, created on Tuesday or Saturday at midnight with the moon increasing in Virgo. Timing requirements are strict. The best days are when the moon is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, or 14 days old. Kings should be evoked from 9 in the morning to noon, or 3 in the afternoon to sunset. Marquises work best from 3 in the afternoon to 9 at night. Dukes prefer sunrise to noon in clear weather. Spirit seals must be made in the appropriate planetary metal. Gold for kings, silver for marquises, copper for dukes, tin for prelates, lead for knights. This isn't arbitrary symbolism. The Grimoire tradition treats these specifications as operating parameters for technology that works because the universe is structured in particular ways. The conjurations escalate in severity through multiple stages. The first conjuration invokes Berelanensis, Baldachiensis, Paumaki I, and commands the spirit to appear in a fair and humane shape, without any deformity or ugly show. If the spirit refuses, the second conjuration invokes sacred names by mythological precedent, the name Adam heard, the name Jacob heard from the angel, the name that saved Lot from Sodom. The constraint threatens to curse the spirit into the depths of the bottomless pit. The conjuration of the fire places the spirit's name and seal in a black box with brimstone and a sapphire hanging it over flames. Only upon appearance does the magician show the pentacle and grant the license to depart. This framework positions the practitioner as servant of God wielding divine authority, not commanding through personal power. The spirits are conceived as fallen angels organized in feudal hierarchy, each commanding between 3 and 85 legions of subordinate spirits. The spirit Marcosi is reportedly told Solomon that after 1200 years he had hopes to return to the 7th throne. Ferfer never speaks truth except he be compelled or brought up within a triangle. Belial must have offerings, sacrifices, and gifts presented to him. These aren't psychological archetypes. They're described as beings with histories, preferences, and long-term goals that may or may not align with the practitioner's interests. Now let's examine what the Golden Dawn actually changed. MacGregor Mathers translated the Goetia in 1888, published in 1904 with Aleister Crowley's introduction, and this version became the most influential English text. But the Golden Dawn didn't merely translate. They created a complete overlay system. In the Golden Dawn grade structure, the Adeptus Major grade, 6 equals 5, required a symbolic ritual evocation of all 72 Goetia spirits, with the practitioner first banishing all 72 Shem-Ham-Fo-Hash angels to avoid interference from benevolent forces. This extremely lengthy operation corresponded to the Sephira Gevua, emphasizing mastery of magical force. The assumption was that overcoming personal vices was believed to provide spiritual aid to humanity in general. That's a far cry from the Grimoire's focus on material results like treasure, love, and knowledge. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram became the foundational preparation for all magical work. This ritual, developed from traditional Jewish prayers invoking archangels, establishes divine alignment through the Kabbalistic cross, draws banishing pentagrams at 4 directions with specific divine names, evokes the 4 archangels Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel, and closes with a second Kabbalistic cross. Used before evocation, it clears the space of chaotic or impure forms of the elements. used afterward. It ensures nothing unintended remains attached. This approach treats the working space as energetic territory requiring purification rather than a physical boundary inscribed with divine authority. The Golden Dawn assigned each of the 72 spirits to a 5-degree arc of the zodiac, pairing 1 angel and 1 demon per quinary, 6 angel-demon pairs per zodiacal sign. This maps to the 36 decanates, split into day and night halves. Angels rule the ascending quinary, demons rule the descending. This system creates an elegant cosmological structure, but as Aaron Leach points out, by taking the planets associated with each spirit, there is no way at all to relate the goetic demons to the decanates of the zodiac. The Shem Hamafor-Hashgoetia pairing evolved from entirely different traditions, Hebraic and Christian respectively, and the correspondence may be an artificial imposition rather than an organic relationship. Israel Regardie, Crowley's secretary, who later became a psychotherapist, insisted that magical training must include psychological integration, especially through Jungian principles. He warned that ceremonial magic without psychological grounding could be disastrous. This represented a major shift from grimoire practice, where the focus was results with spirits as external agents, not psychological development with spirits as aspects of the unconscious. Crowley's famous declaration that goetic spirits are portions of the human brain became one possible interpretation within the Golden Dawn current. They're not the only one. The Ciceros, carrying forward Regardie's work, maintain a spirit realist position while using Golden Dawn methodology, demonstrating that the psychological interpretation isn't inherent to the system. So what are the practical differences? Let's start with circle construction. Traditional grimoire circles are complex physical structures with divine names, psalms, and sephirotic names inscribed. Designed to anchor the conjurer's authority and serve as protective barriers, the Golden Dawn LBRP creates astral pentagrams traced in air with a ritual dagger, establishing energetic rather than physical protection. Critically, the traditional circle does not bind or contain the spirit. As practitioners clarify, the circle is to isolate the operator from any outside energies. The spirit appears in the triangle of art, not in the circle. This is a common misconception that leads to fundamentally incorrect magical geometry. Tools reflect different philosophies. Traditional practice requires the brass vessel, triangle of art, ring of Solomon, lion skin belt, spirit seals on metal or parchment by planetary correspondence, and a sword for constraint. Golden Dawn practice substitutes the lotus wand, elemental weapons, rose-cross layman, and a dagger used more symbolically. Some elements like black mirrors, scrying crystals, and ceremonial robes appear in both traditions, but their theoretical justification differs. Timing strictures vary dramatically. Traditional methods demand planetary hours, specific moon phases, day correspondences based on each demon's planetary ruler, and seasonal considerations. The Golden Dawn approach focuses more on the operator's spiritual readiness and is generally more flexible, sometimes using tatwic tides but rarely requiring precise planetary timing. This flexibility makes the system more accessible, but potentially removes elements that grimoire purists argue are part of the functional technology. The sharpest divide comes in spirit conception. The traditional framework treats spirits as external entities with objective existence, fallen angels, ancient deities, or powerful intelligences organized hierarchically, capable of independent action and deception, requiring compulsion through divine authority. The psychological model, articulated by Crowley's declaration that goetic spirits are portions of the human brain, treats spirits as archetypes or aspects of the subconscious. Many modern practitioners adopt pragmatic agnosticism. As one practitioner puts it, just because something doesn't exist doesn't mean that it's not real, and doesn't mean that it can't have effects. But that agnosticism itself represents a modern innovation absent from both traditional grimoires and early Golden Dawn practice. Aaron Leach, who bridges both currents as a Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn member and grimoire practitioner, articulates the traditionalist critique precisely. You'll find no lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram in the Key of Solomon. You will not see instructions in the Goetia to inscribe geometric figures in the air. No tarot-based elemental weapons or lotus wands are found anywhere in the vast corpus of medieval Solomonic literature. His point isn't that these additions don't work. His point is that they represent a different system entirely. Stratton Kent's criticism cut deeper, targeting the entire lodge model. The whole secret society model is not only unhelpful, but actively counterproductive. Through clinging to bogus history in the secret society model, we are selling ourselves very short indeed as Western magicians. His central thesis, that grimoires preserve shamanic technology from pre-classical Mediterranean religion via the Greek magical papyri, implies the Golden Dawn's 19th century Kabbalistic overlay obscures rather than illuminates this heritage. Joseph Lisiaski, despite being Rigardi's own student, came to advocate strict adherence to traditional methods, warning that different systems of magic and components of grimoiric texts should never be mixed. His concern is that mixing dilutes the spiritual technology encoded in original methods, which form coherent systems where elements support each other. If the brass vessel, the lion skin belt, and the escalating conjurations all serve specific functions within a complete operational framework, removing some elements while keeping others may break the system in ways that aren't immediately obvious. The Golden Dawn physician has capable defenders. Leech himself, despite criticizing the psychological model, acknowledges what the West got right, magically speaking, was theurgy, the purification and elevation of the self to its own innate godhood. They have the initiatory process down cold, and it works. The core argument is that grimoires presuppose what the Golden Dawn makes explicit. The grimoires do not suppose a complete layperson can simply open a book and start commanding spirits. You must do something to increase your personal spiritual authority. The Golden Dawn grade system provides this through months and years of study, practice, and initiation. Chick and Tabitha Cicero, carrying forward Rigardi's work, maintain a spirit realist position while using Golden Dawn methodology. The Ciceros and a few other members were treating the gods and angels as real and objective beings before the psychological interpretation became dominant. This demonstrates that spirit realism and Golden Dawn practice can coexist. Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic, endorsed by the Ciceros as the standard textbook of practical magical knowledge with over 100,000 copies sold, teaches Golden Dawn-style ceremonial magic that integrates both psychological techniques and practical approaches to evocation. So what actually works? The empirical question remains contested. Frate Ashen-Chassan, who began with Golden Dawn methods and transitioned to traditional practice, reports getting what he perceived as spirit presence, even with his early modified approaches. Traditional practitioners report that full visible appearance is possible but rare, with longer preparation periods and higher barriers to entry. The evidence suggests both systems produce functional results, but they may produce different kinds of results or develop different capacities in the practitioner. Gordon Winterfield's Demons of Magick represents a popular modern synthesis offering 3 ritual tiers: simple petition, connective evocation, and full evocation. It uses angelic emissaries for protection, synthesizing traditional hierarchy with accessibility, while maintaining that when magic treats demons as monsters that need to be feared and banished, the magic doesn't work as well. Practitioners report practical results. One writes, 1.5 weeks after the rite, I got 6 interviews in one day, but Winterfield's approach deliberately abandons historical accuracy in favor of what he calls genuine originality. His intent in creating the book was to offer something genuinely original. He has no interest in peddling the same weary methods. Hybrid approaches proliferate in actual practice. Some practitioners use the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram for preparation, traditional conjurations for evocation, and Golden Dawn-style dismissals. Others incorporate demonolatry ends within traditional evocation rituals. However, Mixing creates genuine problems. Demonology practitioners are told to never banish post-evocation, considering it rude to the spirit, while traditional practitioners must always banish post-evocation. These are directly conflicting instructions that cannot be combined without choosing one framework. You can't simultaneously treat a spirit as a guest who should be thanked and dismissed with respect, and as a potentially dangerous entity that must be banished to ensure nothing remains attached. The authenticity debate has both scholarly and practical dimensions. Academic researcher Egil Astrom argues that claims to authenticity are strategical claims employed for legitimizing certain positions, replacing one kind of myth-making with new ones. The Grimoire revival represents what he calls imic historiography, practitioners writing history for practitioners rather than the detached analysis of academic study. From an outside scholarly perspective, both the Grimoire purist claim to preserve ancient technology and the Golden Dawn claim to systematize Western tradition are modern constructions serving contemporary needs. Yet the scholarly case for traditional methods has substance. Stephen Skinner maintains that Solomonic magic represents spiritual technology evolving from the Greek magical papyri via the Hygromandia, transmitted from Byzantium to Europe while preserving definitive Greco-Egyptian operational rationale. If the system works as a coherent whole, removing elements may break the technology. Medieval Grimoire authors themselves borrowed and adapted from multiple sources, but presumably with understanding of what they were doing and why. The question isn't whether innovation is allowed. The question is whether modern innovations improve the system or compromise it. Several persistent myths cloud the debate. The circle binds, the spirit is false. The circle isolates the operator from outside energies, while the triangle of art provides the space where spirits manifest. Traditional methods require impossible materials is partially false. Many items like the lion skin belt can be substituted, though sticking closely to original specifications is always recommended when approaching these rituals for the first time. The Golden Dawn invented the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram from scratch, misses its foundation in traditional Jewish prayers, invoking archangels for protection. Psychological model means spirits aren't real oversimplifies. Even Crowley's position evolved, and many Golden Dawn influenced practitioners maintain that spirits have objective existence. Let's be clear about what the Go-Tier does not include. It does not include detailed planetary timing instructions, which are drawn from other sources like the Heptameron. It does not include the preliminary invocation or bornness rite, which Crowley added in 1904. It does not include the specific 72 angel counterbalances as described in published editions. That comes from Thomas Rudd's later manuscript. And it does not include any psychological interpretation. That's Crowley's innovation, later developed by Rigardi and others. For practitioners deciding how to approach goetic work, several factors deserve consideration. The Golden Dawn approach provides systematic spiritual development. Multiple layers of protection, a coherent cosmological framework, psychological tools for integration, and accessible entry points for solitary practitioners. The Grimoire purist approach provides complete ritual systems designed as coherent wholes. Emphasis on building long-term spirit relationships, treatment of spirits as independent entities requiring respect and offerings, strict timing and material correspondences that may encode important technology, and connection to historical practice spanning centuries. Both approaches require significant commitment. The Grimoire tradition demands tool construction, timing coordination, and preparation that can take weeks or months. The Golden Dawn system requires grade work, daily practice, and theoretical study before advanced evocation. Neither approach guarantees results. Practitioners report successes and failures with both methods. The debate ultimately reflects competing assumptions about the nature of magical practice itself. Is magic a technology with specific operating parameters that must be followed precisely? Or is magic an evolving tradition where practitioners adapt methods to contemporary needs and understandings? Strutt and Kent's claim that underlying Goetic magic is a hidden tradition of great depth and significance points toward magic as inherited technology. Rigardi's insistence on psychological integration points toward magic as personal development. Both framings produce practitioners who report functional relationships with spirits. What Grimoire purists actually argue is not that Golden Dawn magic doesn't work, but that it represents a different kind of work, a 19th century synthesis that lost important elements while adding others of questionable relevance to Solomonic practice. What Golden Dawn practitioners actually argue is not that traditional methods are invalid, but that they lack the systematic spiritual development that makes advanced work safe and effective. The intermediate practitioner familiar with both currents is best served by understanding exactly what each approach adds, what it removes, and what assumptions it makes about the nature of spirits and the purpose of the work. If this research serves our practice, we welcome subscriptions as a means of ensuring its continuation. To our Patreon community, this work is sustained by your support, and this is offered in that spirit. The debate between Grimoire purists and Golden Dawn synthesists will continue. The spirits, by all accounts, don't seem particularly concerned about which framework we use to contact them, but they may care very much about whether we actually do the work with understanding of what we're attempting. May the clarity we seek in studying these systems be a mirror of the clarity we bring to our practice.